For decades, we've been told a simple story about addiction, a story about chemicals. You try a drug or a behavior, and it hijacks your brain's reward system. It floods it with dopamine, the pleasure chemical, and before you know it, you're hooked. The substance is irresistible. But what if that story is incomplete? What if the single most important factor in addiction isn't the chemical hook at all, but something far more human? The classic model of addiction is rooted in our brain's most ancient system, the reward pathway. When you do something essential for survival, like eating good food or socializing, your brain releases a little squirt of dopamine. It's a feel-good signal that says, do that again. Now, enter a drug like nicotine, alcohol, or opioids. These chemicals can cause a massive, unnatural flood of dopamine, more than a delicious meal ever could. The brain, overwhelmed, adapts. It produces less of its own dopamine and reduces the number of receptors. This is tolerance. Now, you need more of the drug just to feel normal, and without it, you feel the crushing low of withdrawal. This is the trap. The brain becomes rewired to prioritize one thing, the substance that provides the relief it can no longer create for itself. This is the story of the hijacked brain, and it's terrifying. It makes addiction feel like a life sentence, but it's only half the story, because it doesn't answer the most important question of all. If the drug is so irresistible, why do some people try it and walk away, while others become trapped? The answer lies not just in the drug, but in the person, and specifically in pain. Decades of research points to a powerful link between addiction and trauma. Trauma isn't just big events like violence or abuse. It can be chronic stress, emotional neglect, or a deep sense of not belonging. These experiences actually shape the developing brain. When you experience chronic stress or trauma, your brain's stress systems go into overdrive. You become more sensitive to pain, both physical and emotional. You feel a constant, low-level sense of unease, a craving not for a substance, but for relief. Now, enter the drug. For a person without those deep wounds, the drug might be a fun, temporary experience. But for someone in pain, the drug doesn't just feel good. It feels like a life raft. It provides, for the first time, a sense of relief. It's not about seeking pleasure. It's about escaping suffering. Addiction, in this light, isn't the problem. It's a desperate, maladaptive solution to a deeper problem. For years, this science was demonstrated in a simple but powerful way. You put a rat alone in a bare metal cage. You give it 2 water bottles, one with plain water and one laced with heroin or cocaine. And what happens? The rat almost always prefers the drugged water. It will drink it until it overdoses and dies. The conclusion seemed clear. The drug was irresistible. But in the late 1970s, a psychologist named Bruce Alexander noticed something the other scientists had overlooked. He pointed out that the rat in the cage wasn't just a rat with a drug. It was a rat in isolation. It had nothing else to do. So he built what he called Rat Park, a lush, spacious enclosure filled with everything a rat could want: food, toys, tunnels, and most importantly, lots of other rats to play with. He then repeated the experiment. In Rat Park, the rats with the social connections and the stimulating environment. They rejected the drugged water. They barely touched it. The drug was available, but the appeal was gone. This wasn't just about the chemical. It was about the cage. For the isolated rat, the drug was the only escape. For the connected rat, life was the escape. So, how do we connect Rat Park back to the neuroscience? How does connection fight the hijacked brain? Because the brain's reward system isn't just for drugs. It's the system for everything that makes us feel alive. A loving conversation, a shared laugh, achieving a goal. Physical affection, these all trigger healthy, sustainable dopamine releases. They nourish the brain. In isolation, the brain is starving. The drug is the only meal. The red spike provides a brief, intense light, but leaves everything else in darkness. But in connection, the brain is getting a constant, healthy diet. It's nourished by those smaller dopamine hits from play, from conversation, from love. The drug is no longer the only source of light. It's competing with a whole world of it. This doesn't mean the drug isn't powerful or that connection is a simple cure, but it means addiction is as much about the cage as it is about the chemical. It's a response to disconnection, trauma, and a lack of purpose. And that means the solution must address those root causes. This completely changes how we should respond to addiction. If the opposite of addiction is connection, then the solution isn't just to cut someone off from their substance. It's to build a rat park for them, to give them a reason to live a life where they don't need the escape. This is why support groups work. They provide connection. This is why stable housing, a sense of purpose through a job, and mending family ties are so crucial. They are the tunnels, the toys, and the other rats in the human rat park. They heal the wounds that made someone vulnerable in the first place. The science of the hijacked brain is real. It's a powerful force. But the hijack happens most easily in a brain that's already in pain. The rat park experiments remind us that at our core, we are wired for connection. And in that wiring lies our greatest hope for healing the wounds that make us vulnerable.